When I first saw this wheel being brought in my direction, I felt like a kid in a candy store. As I was lugging the 140-pound box into my house, I could not wait to open it up. This wheel is huge! This video is my first impression as a real V13 owner experiences all the wonders, woes, and wobbles versus other reviews that have had the same wheel passed to each YouTuber, and you never really get the full flavor of a first-owned V13. This V13 really reeks of premium quality. Thanks to all the other videos out there before my wheel, I felt quite reassured that I am getting a well-tested and highly regarded wheel. The first thing to do out of the box is to take the V13 out of transportation mode. Easy thing to do. This will allow the gyro motor to engage. For the suspension setup, I pumped it up to 210 psi based on my weight. To prevent any air leakage, I placed a valve cap on each side and tightened well. I charged up the wheel for about 3 hours since it was already 50% charged out of the box. I did not bother to mess with the dampening control. I have heard enough stories of damaging the metal shaft by turning too much, so if it's not broken, why mess with it? Although the way InMotion designed the modular system that it would be easy to remove the tire within an hour, I did not want to get to that point. I just put in some Armadillo's sealant, 4 ounces worth. Any puncture in the tire, no matter how big or multiple, will be quickly filled up by the sealant so that you can go on riding without interruption. The first day, I just rode it around the block. First impression was quite intimidating. It is a really high pedal height to get on, and the first ride I just rode it a couple of blocks since it was starting to drizzle. The next day was when I really got to know the wheel. I am 5 feet 11 inches and weigh 200 pounds. Here I was trying to get back on after about an hour's worth of riding. With sore legs already, I had some difficulty trying to get back on the wheel. What later helped me was by leaning forward on the front roll bar to help initiate the roll. This is my first suspension wheel, so I really have nothing to compare with. However, when I was in the park going over these speed bumps, I could barely feel the bump at all. Unlike my Nikola going over these bumps, I had to really hold on tight and prepare myself. I have gone over several indentations on the road on my V13 and was quite surprised how I hardly felt them at all. In a non-suspension wheel, I think the situation would have been much different. What about the torque? That's 300 Newton meters. As a comparison, the Tesla car Model 3 has 639 Newton meters of torque. The V13 has about half the torque. I was able to climb the steep hill with a 110-pound wheel and my 210-pound mass with backpack. The first ever in an EUC, the dual Hall sensors are a big plus. The Hall sensor allows the motherboard to know which way is up, so the gyro senses and can act accordingly based on your level of lean. The V13 has 2 of them, so if one fails, the other can still keep the wheel upright. All these safety features can be explained in 2 words: abundant redundancy. The redundancy in BMS cell balancing, abundance in MOSFETs, capacitors, cooling fans, thicker gauge wiring, abundance in heat dissipation and waterproofness, redundancy in protection mechanisms in BMS in case of battery failure, a 3rd layer of protection in case of all battery failure to circumvent fires. The list goes on and on. Big picture. The V13 specs will keep both the EUC and rider safer. Period. So, what are the woes? This is a heavy wheel. I initially thought I could handle doing all kinds of lifting techniques, Highly inadvisable. You will herniate whether it's your back or an underlying weakness in your abdominal wall. Forget about it. Just get a ramp. No need to spend $50 or more. I got this ramp for $2.50 at 70% off lumber area of Home Depot. Number 2. The app needs to be more easily understood. Please pick native English-speaking EUC writers to help since the language gets lost in translation. I nominate Hugh Stride since he is a good talker and can communicate well. They already changed on the app to pedal hardness, which should be 100% in order to get max speed of 56 miles per hour. Another issue is when I reach more than the minimum 30 kilometers needed to unlock. It never unlocked, and there are no explicit directions at all. Here's the tip. Delete the app since it might be old. Reinstall and update to the latest firmware. You will then be able to unlock to max speed of 56 miles per hour. Thank you to EUC Crazy of YouTube, John Moore, and Thomas Bohr for helping me out with this issue. For those wanting miles per hour showing on the wheel, just long press the KMH icon on the display. It will then allow you to change to miles per hour. Number 3, the pedals are really not grabby enough. The tiny screws are not enough to keep our feet on the pedals. If it weren't for the side pads on my V13, I think I would have a hard time staying on the pedals. For this amount of money, we need better pedals at no extra price. Number 4, the seat should be standard. Come on, this V13 was made for seated riders. Number 5, suspension needs to be similar to the Sherman S that is easy to set up and less prone to internal damage. Just set it and forget it. Number 6, range is not big enough. They should come out with a bigger battery. As for my use case scenario, I am fine with it. Number 7, the price issue is the big gorilla in the room. Yes, it is quite expensive, but other EUCs out there are just as expensive, but they don't have all the abundant redundancy features of the V13. I would say the expensive price is not a deal breaker for me, since having all those safety features could keep me out of being in the emergency room or having to rebuild a new house due to a battery fire. This was on the second day of riding, and I got pretty comfortable with this huge wheel. Too comfortable that I did not realize I was approaching max limited speed of 37 miles per hour. I could not hear the beeps at all, but my recording device did. I actually went as fast as 38.5 miles per hour, but so fortunate that the software did not cause me to cut out. There has been a recent firmware update that actually should be much more audible now, despite the wind noise. What helped me with that wobble was the immediate squatting technique. Seated riding also helps. Good thing I did not panic. Well, these are my first impressions of this magnificent V13. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe. Leave a comment, like this dog who just could not get enough of the wheel. I give this V13 a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Until next time.